Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS The Shout Out Show. Hope that you're having a fabulous Tuesday. Thank you again for joining us. I am very excited to have the topic of the day, which is an ode to childhood. Appreciate where you come from. Now, if you look at the background behind me, these is hands from slavery. Obviously, I got that because I really wanted to take this whole analogy of these hands of slavery that can be broken. They can break the chains and give us art, give us music, give us philosophy, give us religion, give us business, give us hope. So I thought that today would be a good way to talk about it. And I wanted to go back, brothers and sisters, because I connected on something after the show yesterday, which had so much to do about where we come from, who raised us, who mentored us, who guided us, and literally beginning to break that down in terms of what happened to that. Where's that, not so much magic, but where's that responsibility, the communal fiduciary responsibility that we raise people up? That, and if you're raised up, then your job was to raise somebody else up. And our explanations were better about how we work with society, how we work with business, how we work with one another. I think the thing that I want to touch on today is it all comes from someplace. I call it childhood, but everybody knows that people's childhoods don't last forever. Childhood goes into adulthood, but that crafting, if you will, that orientation in childhood has so much to do with how we are facing our problems today, how we've been facing our problems, our politics, our religion, things like that, brothers and sisters. So we're going to have an ode to childhood. And I'm going to bring in some issues. I hope that you will give me some latitude, if you will, a little elasticity to talk about some of the things that have damaged our childhood, some of the things that have impaired us. You know, every generation says, I want my child to be better than I was. Every generation says, I want them to have the benefits and the options and opportunities that I had. And that's a beautiful sentiment. But I think the thing is, we have to look at how were you successful without those options? How were you successful without those opportunities? What is it in terms of the esprit de corps that allows our ancestors who had literally nothing? Forget about the whole idea of working with less, doing more with less. Less was nothing. They didn't have anything, but somehow they crafted this beautiful mural of how we paint ourselves in society today in terms of being successful, in terms of being creative. You know, I have to say that the most creative person is the person that fashions a model of creativity that gives other people hope, that gives other people inspiration. Now, I can talk about a lot of people that inspired me, brothers and sisters, but I'm not going to do the big picture in terms of our heroes and da-da-da. We're going to talk about community structure, family structure, religious impetus, how that thing, brothers and sisters, moved us, motivated us, and you know what I'm about to say, it grew us up. And I'm going to talk about some things that were interesting to me in terms of they were introduced into the picture. We see things on television today that clearly don't make sense. And you know what we say? All we say is it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have the connectivity of community uproar, of community, I want to say action, forward thinkingness, whereby we virtually go and snatch people off of pedestals, snatch people off of podiums who should not be there, reflecting the interests of not where they come from, but where they are. And that whole idea of reflecting where you are and not acknowledging where you come from is a dangerous thing, brothers and sisters, because it creates this dissonance, if you will. Well, we can't talk to our brothers and sisters. We can't talk to the people who believe in their heart of hearts they're doing things in our best interest, though we've never seen them before. They never come to our house. They never come to our church, mosque, synagogue, whatever you want to say. But we created this dissonance, and I want to say the dissonance has been accepted. And so people work in these spaces, for lack of a better word, whereby they think that the dissonance allows them to do and proceed as they would see fit. You know, I talked about a lot about Omicron yesterday, and I want to give a shout out to Sister Sonia yesterday. You're right, Sister Sonia. My energy was a little off because I was really thinking. I was tired too, but I was really thinking about this whole aspect because this is one of the defining measures of our society, how we dealt with COVID-19, how we dealt with things like Omicron, what they did to our society. I was just reading in November that I think 1.4 million people walked off their jobs. That had never happened before. We're talking about the psychology of a generation, a decade of people that's going to have ramifications down the road. What is work going to look like? What is the whole idea of working from home going to look like? What is the idea, brothers and sisters, that we can't come up with a cure for these diseases or these viruses? So, as I said yesterday, they become endemic, meaning that they are going to be specific to a particular area. I want to make sure that I'm very clear when I go forward talking about where we come from. Because the ideas that I'm seeing now, literally, I can't remember those ideas. And I'm going to reflect on the fact that, yes, I am 55. And I'm going to talk about some of the machinations that came down the road, brothers and sisters, that led to this quandary, if you will, this quandary, if you will, whereby we've gotten away from some very, very basic things. And I'm going to give you 3 words that used to frame childhood. They used to frame manhood. They used to frame marriage. They used to frame religion. We forgot these 3 words. And I'm gonna chalk it up to Miss Jones and Miss Mary Moss, Miss Clifford Moss, my mom and dad and my 6th grade teacher, because he used to say these words, and I'm not gonna say it now, but when they said them, brothers and sisters, it used to make me so upset. It made me so upset, and the reason why it made me so upset was because, damn it, they were right. And they had a right to ask that. And I had been in a space with a whole lot of other people, others, not necessarily significant others, your friends, your homies, your buddies, who grew up in a position, who grew up in a time whereby they weren't asked those questions. And even if you asked that question, there was no responsibility to actually give an answer. We're here on the Shout Out Show. I run a little bit over, brothers and sisters. Stick tight. We're going to be back. We're talking about an ode to childhood. Appreciate where you come from here on the Shout Out Show. Sultana, I am over. Let's roll. All right, brothers and sisters, I apologize. Normally the monologue goes 5 minutes and went a little over. My energy is back. I'm feeling better. I had a nice spinach salad. Yoo-hoo. Thank you, Panera Bread. Okay, so let me get to our family. Let me get to the shout-out family because I'm over. I want to make sure we recognize them. First, we're going to get Sister Ree in the building. What's going on, Sister Ree? I had to tell you, I just finished off the barbecue chicken and the rice. It was scrumptious. I appreciate you. I'll be talking to you later about I want to put in an order for the college football championship. I'll talk to you a little bit later about that. Peace to you, Derek and Juwan. Next up, Altaf Rashid, better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. A Canadian ambassador to the show, brother. I appreciate you coming on. You on time like the NOI and General Order number 5, brother. We appreciate you. Here's my thing, brother. I want you to try to look at some of the things I'm going to talk about today. You know, we're from different backgrounds or whatever, but I think that you're going to understand what I'm talking about. Not just different backgrounds. I know I'm older than you, but I really want to, everybody on the show, sound off. You know, chime in. This is going to be one of those shows. Altaf, good to see you. Next up, my little brother, JT, brother known as Johnny L. Thomas. What's going on, Ock? Good to see you on the show. Appreciate you. I know you're going to like this subject. I started to call you before I even brought it up, but I figured some things need to just be sprung on my brother right away. All right. Peace and blessings to you and the family. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Next up, what's going on, Bilal? My main man, Bilal Salahuddin. What's going on, Sister Sonia Salahuddin? Dalton is also on the show. But we got Salahuddins all up in the place. That's a powerful name. Wow, thank you for coming on the show, man. Thank you for coming back. Sister Sonya said my energy was off. Boy, I was thinking yesterday, I felt like my head expanded. But, alhamdulillah, I got to really think and dig into some of these ideas. And I'm glad to be back. So we're going to keep it moving. Bilal, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, sister? Yes, my energy is back. I feel better. Sometimes your brother feels like he's 55 years old. And yesterday, when I was thinking like I felt like I was 105 years old. But you know what? That's called part of the process. My energy was off, but I'm back today. I'm just kidding. All right. All right, sister. And we got Miss Mama Son. Hey, Ma, hope you're doing well. You surviving? I know that snow means you can't go anywhere. So you can't go to the dollar store. You can't go to the Dollar Tree. You are stuck in the house. All right, I'm just kidding. Love you, Mom. I hope you're having a blessed day. I'll figure out how to get that snow out of the way somehow, someplace. All right. Next up, we got Sister Satana, our consultant producer, who is making everything possible on 1 and 2s. This whole thing of moving around, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, one day you're gonna turn this thing on. It's gonna be a big deal, and Sister Satana's gonna be right there. You're gonna see the credits. She's gonna be right at the top. And all of my Shout Out Show family is going to be right at the top. Special thanks to everybody on the show. Appreciate your support. Okay. And we got attorney Maxine K. Esquire. Of course, she is the proprietor of BeFinancialIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinancialIndependent.com. I'll be doing that ad at the end of the show. Hey, Maxine, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you. You might like some of this. I might even take some of our viewers back to Danville, Virginia. Yes, indeedy. All right. An ode to childhood. Every childhood, meaningful childhood, brothers and sisters, is defined by something. It's defined by something. Now, I'm not going to take shots at the modern day family, though it's kind of weird. The modern day family, brothers and sisters, is not what I grew up with. It wasn't these pronouns of he, she, her. I don't know who you am, him, shim. I don't know what that is, brothers and sisters. For people who use it, of course, it has meaning of gender neutral. I don't know what that means. But in family, what is important is that family had roles. People had roles, people had rules. Now, I started talking about codes yesterday as a lead into what I'm about to say today. The definition of a family, brothers and sisters, the narrative of a family is how it evolves. How it evolves. Now, I'm showing people these hands back here because it comes from hands. Bill Withers had a great song called Grandma's Hands. And I remember there was a song on Brent from Marsalis album, I Heard You Twice the First Time. It was called The Road You Choose. And The Road You Choose and Grandma's Hands remind me of the subtleties that people make decisions without the benefit of being able to see what those decisions are going to flourish into. Meaning that they make classic commitments, if you will. Classic commitments, if you will, not knowing what that's going to look like down the road. One of the most frustrating things, my mother's on here and she knows this, and I'm going to say I know my dad's on. One of the most frustrating things that could happen to you when you were a child, particularly a black child, is when you were doing your homework and you got an answer and you put the equal sign and you put the answer there and you did that for 20 problems. You were feeling good about yourself about finishing your homework, finishing the task. My mother, Mary Moss, or my dad, Clifford Moss Sr., Jr., would walk up and go, "Hey, this good?" And he would have 3 words. Show your work. Show your work. We're in a time, brothers and sisters, nobody wants to show their work. They want shortcuts. They want people to work for them. They don't show their work. Now, here I am, however old I am, I realize the benefit now of how you show your work, why you show your work. Because it provides a background, not just a background. It provides a pathway for people to understand not how you did the work, but what your struggle was. Clearly, what your struggle was. In the African tradition, we call them the griots, the people who would memorize the history of a family. In the religion of Islam, we have what they call hafiz. they memorize the Quran, right? I realize the similarities of the two because in that you have to pinpoint exactly what the struggle was. If you read any religious text, there's going to be struggle, there's going to be narratives to the struggle, and there's going to be a point that it leads you to the next struggle. Family is supposed to be like that. Family is clearly supposed to be like that. Your relationships, I have lifelong relationships with people. You know, I'm talking 30, 40. My brother Rick that comes on the show, I've known Rick since I was 4. That's 51 years, okay? What I'm saying is, I've never had people around me, by the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I've never had a bunch of people around me who could not do what? Show their work. We talk about ShOUT show. I talk about Satana. But before there was ever a ShOUT show, before we ever did StreamYard, she had a demonstrated place where she could show her work. I could go, And here's the difference. It's not that she could show me her work. If you look at the minute details, you can see the work of her parents, of her mother, of her father, of a code, of a system, of an infrastructure. And we miss that now. You know, one of the greatest things that hurt the whole idea of an ode to childhood is that people in the media started showing us their childhood. Hear me now. They started showing us their childhood. The first television show on TV was in 1928. I think it was called The Queen's Bridge or something like that. The Queen something. 1928 or 27. Here's the interesting thing about that. Only 3 TVs could see it in 1927. So they had a whole TV program and only 3 TVs could see it. And it was in the RCA building. You see what I'm saying? And how do you move to that now? How do you move from that to the fact that you're watching me on a computer or a telephone or iPad or whatever? It is the idea that somehow, someplace, brothers and sisters, folks give you presentations, folks give you creativity, folks give you what they define as art, but they don't show you the work. 2 examples, brothers and sisters. And this is something I would tell everybody. Please do your research. I try and do mine. Please do your research. Do you realize the advent of black image in America was given to white folks before it was ever given to black folks? Clearly, how would you feel if somebody gave you a representation of how they saw you that was clearly contradictory to how you actually live? But you didn't have the aspect, you didn't have the energy, you didn't have the access to be able to put out your image. And the thing about the media, which I think is at one point is genius, but another point is diabolical, is that they began to give you image of family. You see, I can talk about my ode to childhood. I can talk about the fights I had. I can talk about the girls I liked. I can talk about the games I lost. I can talk about going to college, you know. And what that ode to childhood means is that there are people in my space who demanded at every point in time that I show work. I show my work. Even now when we have these programs, brothers and sisters, that are half hour, it is a constant proving session, proving ground that we've learned how to do our work better. When you come on the show as viewers, you're not coming on the show as viewers. You're coming on the show as not even consumers. I wouldn't even give you consumers. You're coming on the show because there's a standard. And because you come on the show and you have a standard, I have a fiduciary responsibility to produce to that standard, either meet it or exceed it. That's the way this game goes. And when we talk about appreciating where you come from, I'm going to say this and hopefully I get it right. But when I watch young men, young black men, young Latino men, I have a distinct pain in my heart that a lot of them are not clued to the rich heritage that they come from. That they're not tethered to things like the Black Panthers. They're not tethered to things like the Civil Rights Movement. They don't know who Thurgood Marshall is, Brown versus Education. They don't know who Vernon Johns is. They barely know Malcolm X. Minister Louis Farrakhan is in his 80s now. They don't know. And that fear of them not being tethered means that they can produce things that are countercultural to the people that raised them. Because the people who raise you are the people who need you. You see what I'm saying? The people who raise you are the people who need you. When you are a child, your parents raise you up. When you become a man and you have your own family, but at a certain point in time, your parents will need help. They'll need assistance. They don't need you to raise them as a baby, but you have to be able to fill in some of those spaces that I talked about. Some of that dissonance. When you get closer to your parents and when you get closer, you see what they need. And you see that, mom and dad, they've been doing a great job, but it's the best job they could do. Because age doesn't lie and age doesn't leave. So I would tell everybody, look within yourselves. Appreciate your childhood. How many of you have childhood friends you hadn't talked to in a long time? One of the great things about Facebook is you can call people up. You can look folks up. Yeah, I'm seeing. I get email. I get Facebook stuff. Though I'm not good on Facebook. Let me just tell you that. Even if it's Meta, I'm still not good. But I get stuff from people go, hey man, you remember da-da-da, hey man, da-da. The fact that I can have a brother I met when I was 4 years old come to my house and hang out with my mom the way we used to do when we were 14. It's a beautiful thing. The way we used to do when we were 10. And I'm getting to a point here, and I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say what I mean, even more. Is that's been disrupted. We now let me tell you. Let me throw this out here to you. Anybody can make a comment. They've reissued a show called The Wonder Years. But a lot of people don't remember the original Wonder Years. This Wonder Years is with a black cast. Okay, cool. They have another film coming out about who? Emmett Till. That I guess is made for a movie of the week, whatever. That's introducing people to Emmett Till in terms of white viewership. I mean, black people will watch it, but I'm like, Emmett Till is ours. Emmett Till is not a rating. I talk about my childhood, but I'm going to tell you this. There's not a black mom or dad who's, I'm talking about out of my generation, in their 70s, who did not fear their children coming back or going out without having in the back of their mind what happened to Emmett Till. Plain and simple. And now this is a primetime movie. I don't know who produced it, but it's it's meant to be entertainment. Look, I'm gonna tell you right here. Look, I'm old. I remember when CNN was not 24-hour news. I remember when HBO was not a bunch of HBO brothers and sisters. My cousin would tell you, I used to love to go down to Danville, Virginia. You know why? Because they had HBO. And all they used to do is, it'd be one box and it'd come on at like 7. And we'd turn it on and we'd just stand there and watch because it was the most amazing thing in the world. Because you only had UHF channel, VHS, and whatever. You had the normal networks, but we had this thing called HBO. And when I was a kid, we had Super TV. Now, some of the folks forgot Super TV, didn't it, Satana? Satana's like, Super TV? That's right, Super TV. It would come on at a certain time, you hit the button, and it would override, and you would watch these movies. But that was okay, because you had to pay for that. Mom and Dad, they knew when it came on, you better not be watching what I'm thinking you're watching, boy. And they cut it off, and that was it. But then the whole advent of free TV, which again goes back to 27, but they took it another level, brothers and sisters. They made television part of our childhood. And if you make television a part of your childhood, fundamentally, do you have a problem really appreciating where you come from? And I believe the answer is yes. You know, parents, these days. Because the parents that do a good job with their children, the parents that struggle and sacrifice for their kids, they don't get any press. They don't get any ink. It's the parents that do horrible things to their kids that get all of the press. So the parents that let a boy get a gun and go to the school and shoot up the school, they're horrific parents. That's what we're watching on TV. Sandy Hook, that's what we're watching on TV. We see all of this type of stuff. Parents that leave their kids in the car on a hot day. We see all of that. But the large amount of parents who are out there fundamentally hold to the point that they raise their children with a certain amount of responsibility and accountability, and it goes back to the work or the fact that you must show your work. Parents, brothers and sisters, don't raise children. They graduate children. You ain't going to be able to do X, Y, and Z unless you've done A, B, C. And I think we have to make that point. Parents graduate children. Schools graduate children in grades. But parents, you know your child. You're not going to let your child go into a situation that's where the child is unprepared. I've been in situations where I looked at a parent and a student, and the parent goes, there's no way he's ready for 6th grade. Now, I can't do anything about social promotion, but back in the day, they said there's no way. He has to sit back. And clearly, brothers and sisters, clearly something is missing. I miss the days of the aggressive black dad. I miss the days of the aggressive black mom. We loved them. I miss the days of the threat of a grandmother going, if I have to come up with that school, it's going to be problems. I miss that because it ties into the fact, it reminds you where you came from and appreciating that. We have so many things. We have electric cars, we have Bluetooth, we have all these things. But break it down to the people that had nothing. And if you go all the way back to that and realize that out of this space of people who worked on the bare minimum, they created a genius and they were generous enough to make sure that we received it. And it's a genius that navigated some of the things they dealt with. Racism, navigated no voting, navigated institutional racism, navigated the fact they couldn't get homes, navigated the fact that they couldn't get education. And here we are now, brothers and sisters, standing on the precipice of genius that someone else gave to us. Clearly, you got to appreciate where you come from. I do. So listen, hey, what's going on, Eric? Wa alaikum assalam. I said Eric, I meant Eric. JT, what you got for me? My eyes are bad. Yolanda and I still limited TV, computer for our grandchildren to make them go outside and play. Yeah. Yes. Here's why I believe parents used to tell you get outside and go outside and play. To appreciate and have a relationship with the dirt, with nature. To go out and hear crickets. To go out and catch lightning bugs in jars. To do these things. To chase cats. To listen and see leaves fall. They put you outside because they wanted you to see that life changes around you. Whether you wanted to or not. And I think JT is right. You know, I think I'm falling out of, I know I'm falling out of being a computer person because Satana will probably kill me. I am not good on social media and I have been horrible. And if I sat on here and told you I'm going to get better, I'd be lying to you. I'd be lying to you. Fundamentally, I have some issues with it. I'm not a person. My problem with social media is I'm not good with the look at me. I'm not good to look at me. I was good with look at my work, but I'm not good at the look at me. And at one point in time, did look at my work turn to look at me. That's why I can't stand Instagram, Satana. You got people just take pictures and stuff. I ain't see them do that work. I got a Lamborghini. Hey, that might not be your Lamborghini, and if it's your Lamborghini, you got to show me some work. I remember one time I was gonna get in a car with a friend of mine. It was a very nice car. Okay, it was an extremely nice car. You know what my aunt said to me? How'd that boy get that car? How'd that boy get that car? I was like, huh? She said, how'd that boy get that car? I got to stuttering. She said, get out the car. Shout out to Aunt Ruth. You know why? She's like, if I don't know how that boy made that money to get that car, you're not getting in that car. And I had to turn around to this guy and go, I can't get in the car because my auntie said she don't know where you made that money from. Whether I joked on them, did they give me a hard time? Absolutely. But you know what? Aunt Ruth was right. Because when you know where you come from, those are the questions you ask. Those are literally the questions you ask. And it's a science to it. There's a science to it and a blessing to it. You know, I know we've gotten a little soft here because, you know, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and da da da. I'm going to tell y'all something. I don't know if a lot of children today, I don't know if they could have made it 20 years ago. I don't know if they could have made it 30 years ago. Our childhoods were serious. You know, we play all day. We fall off a bike. We run into a whole tree, get up and keep on running. We didn't know what a concussion was. A concussion was the amount of time it took you to get up and keep on rolling. We didn't know. So I know I'm running over. Brothers and sisters, what's going on? What you got? Yep. Don't go over that house. Don't go over the house. Don't eat that food. I don't know. I almost caught death one time. I almost said, "Here's dinner," and I was like a fool. I said, "I already ate." She said, "Here, where you eat?" Because it was only the way I ate. It was like you know how you go to the food court. That's the way my block looked. You can eat here, not here, here. I said so. My mom was like, "Oh, well, we got a problem," because my mom didn't know those folks. Yeah, where that food come from? How they prepare their food? This is real stuff. So look, I'm going to wrap up, but I have to talk about why one of the things about yesterday about Omicron, and I meant to show this yesterday, and I'm going to show it today. It doesn't necessarily connect with that thing, but I want you to look at this guy talking, and I want you to think if he has relatives 2 generations back. Just take 20 years ago. Does that generation? Do you think they really produced this type of guy? Satana, can we cue that up, please?
We're going to be working to unwind the sort of testing psychology that our federal leadership has managed to, unfortunately, get most of the country in over the last 2 years. We need to unwind this testing planning and living one's life around testing. Without it, we're going to be sort of stuck in the same cycle. So, it's really time for people to be living, to make the decisions they want regarding vaccination, to enjoy the fact that many people have natural immunity.
All right, first of all, it's Florida. Second of all, everyone around him is white with no mask. Third of all, he's a black man talking about no testing in front of a sign that said early treatment saves lives. What was his childhood? I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where they found this Negro. But we need to start asking questions. You know why? Because if we don't, we're going to start seeing more of these Negroes come up and say that stuff. More of these Negroes, more of these white people, more of these Latinos talking this pure garbage, knowing, brothers and sisters, it is not reflective of the struggle of their ancestors and their families. All right, let's go to wrap up. JT said our grandchildren were disappointed there was no snow on the ground because we couldn't go sledding during school break. Hey, you know how that goes, brother. You know how it goes. They'll get over it. No therapy for the grandchildren. Just tell them it ain't happening. However, if you want to put them on a plane, you can send them to Washington, D.C. and there's plenty of snow, even though it was after Christmas. All right. My mother says parents are afraid of raising their children. Their child Child can call the police on parents, and parents go to jail, so take me to jail, but you will never live to see it. All right, Mom, you are informing on yourself. Rap snitches telling on their business. All right. Do you see the perpetrator? Yeah, right here. Mom, you can't give confessions on the shout out show. I'm going to have to turn this in to the authorities. I'm going to miss you, though. All right. But look, let me wrap up because I know I got to let people go. Listen, let's give a shout out to BeFinancialIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinancialIndependent.com. You go to the website or you can call 202-508-3780. Again, that's 202-508-3780. Next up, if you are considering a quality Islamic graduate education, please look no further than Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Bayan, located in Claremont, California, offers premium programs, Islamic studies, Islamic leadership, Islamic education, and of course, the marquee piece, the Masters of Divinity with a focus in Muslim chaplaincy. Go to bayanonline.org. Again, that's bayanonline.org. All right, next up, we want to give a shout out, City of Houston, to Convenient Urgent Care, who is fighting the battle against Omicron and Delta and all these variants out here, as well as doing a lot of good community service. I want to give them a shout out. They made a massive contribution of masks. I mean the real mask, brothers. It's not the one with skull smiling and stuff. I mean, you heard of the KN95 masks. Okay, those aren't the real masks. They donated over 700 N95 masks. These are the real masks. This is the real PPE. To local charities and masjids in the city of Houston. So I want you to patronize them. They have locations in Houston on Parker Road, Pasadena, and Cypress. Make sure you reach out. Check them out, convenienturgent.com. Again, that's convenienturgent.com. And our newest partner, brothers and sisters, I am so excited with this. I am a part of the UsHub TV family. UsHub is a new Muslim streaming service, and I think that they've gotten it right, brothers and sisters. They have the capability, if you will, to possibly become like a real Muslim Netflix or a real Muslim Hulu. I like the way that they're going about it. They will be showing my comedy special, Love Supreme and Anatomy of Gratitude. They will be showing that. You can actually go to ushub.tv. They have a free trial. Check that out. But what I like the fact is, brothers and sisters, is that they've reached out in a meaningful way, acknowledging that parts of the Muslim community have not been represented the way they need to. Let me just say and be honest. A lot of African American Muslims have not been represented well on a lot of these platforms. Well, ushub.tv has stepped up to the plate. Not only are they going to do this, but I want to make an announcement when the time is proper that we have a partnership to produce original programming on UsHub. All right? So shouts out for that. So listen, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys had a good time. Sister Sonia, I hope my energy was all right today. My thoughts were a little bit more played out. But thank you so much, everybody, for coming on the show. We're not going to do the old intro. Satana, I'm gonna do another intro, inshallah. I want to give a shout out, Fight the Word, my main man Elijah, before we get out of here. Elijah, it was good seeing you, brother, man. Always a wonderful conversation. I know we have another one coming. Look out for Elijah's show, brothers and sisters. Not shout out show, but the Elijah Salahuddin show. That's what we're going to call it. And I look forward to being able to help him produce that. So listen, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have been wonderful. Take care of yourselves, all right? I'm going to go that way, and you go that way. But I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Preacher Moss. Muslim women are oppressed. That's not true. That's a lie. I married a Muslim woman. I'm oppressed.
It's hard to be a Muslim comedian. Because you can be anything else in this community, can't you? Allah made me a doctor. Alhamdulillah. Allah made me a lawyer. MashaAllah. Allah made me funny. Astaghfirullah.